Hello, Pickathon Universe. Welcome to Pickathon Podcast, episode 40. I'm your host, Zale Schoenborn. This is a podcast about creative journeys and weird, random interactions and facts. And we haven't done this in a while, so it's been a new one. Today, my guest is going to be Julia from Ratboys, and who's going to join me in a second. And I wanted to kind of start off kind of catching up since we're now in the official, hot season of Pickathon. I think this is gonna be on July, probably the 4th or the 6th. That means we're just gonna be 4 weeks away from the festival, which is kind of crazy to think about. We are at a very cool milestone. For the folks that have been, you know that we kind of talk about ourselves as an experiential music festival. Kind of just means that we care about the experiences in a weird way, but we also go way the heck overboard. We're so irrational in many ways, and that's kind of the reason that many people like to be a part of it. The thing that people are going to really notice this year, and I just can't express it enough, is we've been dinking around with the new format of the festival since 2000, where we're using kind of natural landscape and time of day, keep you folks in the shade. We use the natural landscape of Pendarvis Farm, and we've divided it into, somewhere it's really like 20 neighborhoods, but about 15 of them we're going to have design build teams creating spaces that are kind of natural settings in the farm. And if you piece them all together, it's like a big venue map. Think of it as a natural musical Disneyland, way cooler than that. Not a lot of roller coasters, but the teams kind of conceptualize and build a space. So whether it's kind of a space in the woods, we call the wood stage, or another one that's in this kind of tall grove of Doug firs, we call the grove. One that's kind of in this area by a windmill that's now in the woods. Woods have grown up around it. We call it the windmill. There's a huge meadow that's the main space for the concerts at night. We call it the paddock. And they go on and on, but they all are this okay, here's a natural space. Here's what it looks like. We're going to have these things in it. Okay, architect. Okay, builder. Okay, artist. Okay, experiential. Okay, lighting team. Okay, sound. It goes on. And we say, what's the concept here? And this is the totally off the hook, irrational thing about us, is that we'll see some ginormous architectural structures to kind of enhance these spaces. We have an incredible famous artist coming from France this year who's building the spirit of the grove. If you haven't kind of been on our website, you'll see these huge, fantastical kind of creatures that are going to be populating, one of the neighborhoods and the stage. And another one is built out of this architectural antlers and sunset. It's going to be the paddock stage built by Tony from Hoffman. Incredible. It's a couple tons. It's going to take a massive building to build this thing. And every single one of these teams is doing something that by itself, that would be maybe enough. You only need one of these spaces. And because as we know, the normal business model for a festival, one stage, a band you can't not miss, fill it in, and if you want to make money, you don't do anything else. You do crappy everything. You have a trailer in the back with a cheese plate for the artist, and you just have fences around and crappy things. We just can't do that. We have 9 stages, and that's just insane for our world. But we just wouldn't do it anyway. We've always grown up this way. We're trying to make sense of it. And I think the next podcast, I got another really awesome thing I'm going to talk about, which is we're launching kind of partly to make this sense is we need to kind of separate the force of good and the festival side of this so it's sustainable. And that's going to be something I want to talk about. It's pretty big news. It's actually another thing about how we're going to start a nonprofit. And I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to save that for the next one. And so if you're listening now, definitely tune in. That will come next week, I think around July 9th or something like that. Yeah. So it's just hard. It's hard to explain. So I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to say, if people have told you about it and they say you should come, you won't understand it. You've probably been to a million festivals. Everybody has. You just won't get it. You will not. There's no possible way till you come. And then you'll say, oh, this is how all festivals should go. I'm guessing that might happen, but that's what we hope. So I won't go in too much. You should explore our website and check it out. It is going to be the best year we ever had in so many ways. We just are so excited. We also kind of secured 10 years of being able to do this earlier this year, which we talked about a bit. And that's pretty awesome. So the neighbors, there's just something as like a festival that goes on till 2 a.m. We know we have like 90 something percent of neighbors really love it. And so like there's in so many ways that all comes together. The energy feeds into it. The design teams that are going to be, on site. I can't even begin to talk about it. We would need an hour for me to explain each one of these spots and their design and their concepts. You will not understand. And I also say like the refuge, we're adding cold plunge and sauna and top of like all this kind of additional wellness stuff that it's going to be like a crazy spa in the woods that's also chill and you can just go to. And yeah, it goes on and on. I'm going to stop. Anyways, let's focus on music because we are a music festival. And yes, this year you're going to see that kind of rising, that kind of curated legends kind of colliding with rising stars. I have so many picks for the bands that I think are going to, come back around. They'll be too big for us. And my guest is definitely one of them. I think a lot of folks are excited to see them in person. Welcome, Julia from Ratboys.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Gosh, I was already so excited about playing the festival, and now I'm just like, it's out of control. I cannot wait.
Yeah, we've been, it's fun. We've known about you for a while since, I think Printer's Devil was the first time I really showed up on our radar. But
awesome.
Yeah, there's so many people that are really excited about seeing you. Like I'm so curious, like, how are things going for you guys right now?
Things are good. Yeah, I was gonna say too. We've known about you guys for a while too. My brother lives out in Portland, and
oh wow,
he's lived there for 12 years. Yeah, and every year he's like, "You guys gotta play Pickathon." I'm like, Paul, we want to. Like we need to. We have to be asked, And but anyway, he volunteers every year, so he's just so thrilled that we're playing this year. So. It's finally happening. We're so stoked.
Oh, that's so awesome. What do you know what he volunteers for or what he's?
I've never asked. So I'll have to ask.
You should ask.
I have a feeling he probably does something different each time because he's that kind of freak. He likes to do it all. But yeah, he and his wife.
Like 45.
We're different like teams or crews.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, he and his wife both. They love to get a deal. They love to contribute, and they love to see music. So it's a win-win-win.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, we're doing really good here. We're home for a couple weeks in between tours, and summer in Chicago is always a good thing. So we're soaking up our time at home right now.
Oh yeah, it's like the good season, right? It's like that Portland too. Sometimes they call it January. We didn't really have a very rainy June. So it's been like bonus summer, and now we're like fully in summer. So like
nice.
from now till probably beginning or mid October, it's going to be like, 99% sunny and like dry, 75, 80, occasional 100 degrees, which probably will happen on the festival. It almost always does. But last year we didn't. So.
Well, we'll be in the shade.
You never know.
That'll be all right. Maybe.
You will be in the shade. We 100%. Yeah, we just kind of learned that lesson that no matter what we do in terms of like building shade, we used to build one of the largest shades, like tension fabric structures in the world every year. And then we like, God darn it, man, just being in the woods though, which we had this stage that's in the woods, which is a lot of, history there. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, no matter what we build, nature kicks our butt.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
fair.
we should just like kind of like give in and just not fight it. Use natural shade if we can.
Totally.
And we figured it out.
Yeah. And also people are at the festival to have a good time. Like they're resilient. They'll be fine. Like we played a festival last weekend in Massachusetts, and it was raining, and we were like thanking people for standing in the rain while we played, and they were like, it rains every year, it's fine, so people.
That was solid sound,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, it was great. And actually they made bumper stickers this year that said, "It always rains at Solid Sound." So
does it really?
That's guess
hilarious.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that like inside joke, but it actually made it. I mean, it made us feel like we got the true experience, so maybe it'll be the same with the heat.
I'm so interested with that festival. How was it? Because it's, it seems like such a cool, well curated festival. It's very similar to us in a lot of ways, the way it's curated.
I was going to say, it seems very spiritually connected to what y'all are doing out west. Like, it's very much about experiences in addition or like beyond the typical scope of like festival stages, watching bands play. Like, it's held at an art museum in Massachusetts, and that doesn't really describe the space very well. It's like more of like a campus of art museums, and they have like acoustic performances in the installations, and like all sorts of little interviews, and things kind of happen very like spontaneously. It's very well done. I was pretty blown away. It's different than like your typical, Lollapalooza or like some big corporate festival. It felt very independent and like run by artists. And so what you're describing,
run by Jeff Tweedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you could tell it's like it was conceived by a band or like people who care about.
Who care and want to like how they would treat other people.
Yeah.
It comes down to that. It's like, it's not just about money. It's like,
exactly.
Okay, we kind of care a little bit more.
And like the kind of festival you'd want to go to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually not that complicated.
Right. Totally. And that's what it sounds like Pickathon's all about too. So, and we're really stoked.
We've always kind of like thought of it that way because it just seems so gross to, there is a business model here, but we're not in love with, we're trying to figure it out. And so I think we have some like cool ideas that hopefully will make it work. Because we wouldn't do this if it was going to just be, let's fleece the audience for as much money as we can make and make it as crappy because they got to see this one band. We so much love having bands like Ratboys who are going to blow people's minds.
Thanks.
Because they haven't seen them that much, or they haven't, it's just like, that's just like, the when you're in that kind of creative zeitgeist of like where you guys are at, you're just, I can trace an arc, which I want to talk about here, from where you started to the window where the band is now becoming a major feature of your music.
Totally. Yeah, it's real. And just to go off of what you were saying too, like there's other ways to make money that are much more bankable and reliable than music or planning music festival. So you know what I mean? Like if that's
day jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Like if that's the same way with our band. It's like, obviously anything we could do to build like a career or like make this more sustainable for us is great because we just want to keep doing it. And that being said, like, if we were doing this to get rich, it would be a little bit misguided and deranged. So that's like the goal is to play music and get to connect with people. So that's why we're here.
It's tough. It's like, it's this, especially for, like I actually did start this with a day job. I had a day job working at a high tech at Intel. That was like my job.
Oh, yeah.
And I was always, I'm a musician too.
Cool.
And I'm a mandolin player, trumpet player.
Whoa, that's awesome.
But I had a kid and I couldn't like play in a band and a job. So like this little crazy hobby was like a bunch of friends getting together and I would play it too. And then now it's kind of grown out of control into, 24 years later.
That's amazing.
Or 26 years later, it's this.
Wow.
And but it has that same thing. We never really needed money, to live off of it. But, like, it's weird. It's like now that I'm in this position, so I'm a lot, a lot older than when I started it. You get to this point where you're in life, you're like, okay, I could make a choice to go out and totally have a stable career, like, and make money. And because I have all this high tech stuff, but I just know that if that means the festival and there's this kind of a whole saga behind the farm itself too, because the farm owners are these amazing people who also could have sold their property for houses and it would just be a bunch of apartments, no more woods. but they're more irrational like it too. So the combination of that, and I just knew that, when you think about what makes life meaningful, right? It's like, if you don't have passions, if you're not somehow like connected to the passions, and what you guys are is similar for, is kind of, I root for it because it is what makes life awesome. If you can pull it off, right? If you can find that way, and it's not as safe. I'll do 100% going to give you that. It's like, can you find the kind of place where it's sustainable?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Life is short. Like,
life is short.
You might as well do something that provides a little bit of adventure. Obviously, it's not always going to be, like joyful 100% of the time, but if it is 90% of the time, that's a pretty good percentage. So that rocks.
Oh yeah. So I want to kind of rewind. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky.
So did I.
No way. Really?
I'm up in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky.
Really? Is that up by Covington?
Right by Covington.
Got it. Yeah. And like Florence?
Like a mile and a half.
Florence, y'all. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's wild. When did you end up out in Oregon?
I grew up there from like 5 till I went to University of Kentucky.
Okay.
And so I left there and went to Chapel Hill in 92, and then kind of went to Boulder after about 94 to go back to school.
Got it.
And then I moved here in 97.
Wow.
So I spent most of my time, I think, between here and Kentucky is about pretty similar.
I see. Gradually making your way west. Lots of great basketball. Did you have some champiomhips during your time?
Oh, yeah. I'm still obsessed with basketball. I don't know if are you? Is there still a connection?
A little bit. I grew up watching college basketball. I mean, in Kentucky, that's all there is. Like, there's no pro sports. And and I'm not complaining. Like, the culture around college basketball in Louisville specifically, and I'm sure Lexington was very similar, going to school there. It's pretty all consuming. Yeah.
Yes. Were you a Louisville fan or were you
Go Cards? Yeah. No, definitely a Cards fan.
Right?
I mean, yeah. And then, I love the whole rivalry, like U of L versus UK is always very exciting. To be fair, my whole family's from Ohio, so I didn't really have a like diehard family allegiance to U of L. Actually, my family is from Dayton, and so they're huge UD Dayton Flyer fans, and so I was always
amazing. I love that.
Yeah, and Dayton makes a splash in the tournament every so often, and actually
in the last several years.
Well, in 2020. I swear they would have gone all the way. They had an amazing team in 2020, and that was a really kind of a personal tragedy in our family. Like, everyone was devastated when the tournament got canceled that year because they were on a tear.
I know. You guys had you had such the best player in the country.
Yeah, Obi Toppin. He was a monster. And he's kind of flamed out in the NBA. Is he doing good now?
You think so?
Well, I don't know.
He's doing good down in Orlando. Yeah.
Is he down there? Okay. See, that's the issue. I don't pay attention to the NBA. I wish I cared.
Because it doesn't really matter. We're in Ohio and Kentucky.
It doesn't hit for me.
Cares.
I never followed it growing up, and I just don't have a team. I try to follow the Bulls. They are like the least compelling professional sports team. Which is insane because they were so culturally significant in the 90s. But even then, growing up, I knew who Michael Jordan was, but I didn't follow the NBA at all. And so anyway, yeah, I'm pretty ignorant to professional basketball now, with the exception of
it's okay.
All the trades, and I love all the drama. I love all the player movement. But
we had a very sad year last year. Kentucky was just primed to go far, and it ended up like unwinding our coach.
Coach Cal. I know it's the end of an era, frankly. So
he's at Arkansas now, and I think Louisville's getting a new coach too, right? They're getting a new coach too.
Louisville, nowhere to go but up right now. Truly.
I know.
We'll see what happens.
So and this is like either, we might have like thousands of people who just tune in just because they want to hear us talk about basketball, because that's how crazy it is in that part of the country. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea what we're talking about unless you're from there, again, and then you'll totally know what we're talking about.
It's true. I mean, I'm a total sports nerd. if there's ever an invitation to be on a sports podcast or things like that, I jump on it. So I appreciate any listeners.
Really? That's so awesome.
Yeah, anyone's patience out there as we just got to get this out of our system. It's crucial. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But
Well, here's what I love about it that doesn't translate out here, even for pro sports so much. It does a little bit for because college football is so big in Oregon.
yeah, and the Blazers,
but
right?
it's still not the same. And the Blazers, I do like the Blazers, even though we have nowhere to go but up, and I hope it comes back. But it's still not the same because the when you have college basketball in a place like Kentucky or Ohio, Indiana, different places where they're huge, it's like a social holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Like it does not matter what anybody's doing. The entire town will just kind of like stop.
Yeah.
And you could just hang out, and it was this awesome built-in social thing. Totally. And I try to explain that to so many people out here. I'm like, let's get together and hang out and barbecue and watch. They're like, yeah, maybe in the tournament, maybe in a couple months. I'm like, no, it's so much more fun than that.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like for small,
it doesn't translate as much.
Yeah, like smaller cities, it's just kind of the thing we have. I mean, in Louisville, it's like we have the Derby, which I guess is, like on the world map in some niche way, but it's fun to have like something to look forward to, like the U of L UK game, which kind of, it makes your city feel like important in some way, or it's like, this is our thing,
yes.
And it's almost like a town pride thing, which is hard to come by sometimes, I guess.
Did you start playing music there? It was because Louisville is kind of a really cool music town.
I did, but I didn't really have any sort of connection to the music scene. Growing up in Louisville, my biggest musical like output or growth came from singing in choir in school. That was like my big group participation thing, which I loved.
Yeah.
And I
was in the marching band.
There you go. See, my school didn't have that because I went to all-girl Catholic school. And so I guess that isn't something that exists there. But
they have course. Yeah.
I wish they had a marching band, but we had choir. And so that was what I did. And I learned how to play guitar kind of on my own. It was the very nascent years of like YouTube, back before it was monetized and, corporatized and AI-ified to all hell. And so it was actually very kind of interesting. Maybe there weren't as many videos with guitar lessons and stuff, but the ones that were there felt very like homegrown and like a real person. It's different now. I don't know, like it's just a different feeling. And so
you actually learned from YouTube videos. Like,
a lot
of it
taught
you personally?
Well, my mom showed me some
incredible.
chords. I had a good friend in school whose older sister played guitar, and so she showed me some chords. But yeah, it was mostly just YouTube and like ultimateguitar.com. And I had a Beatles book that was very important to me with chord charts for all of their songs. So that was my Bible. Still is, kind of.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but
did you go to see any shows when you were there? Did
No.
any music?
I wish.
Seek into it?
I mean, I went to all ages shows at Headliners whenever they would happen, which is like a 500 capacity club. But I definitely wasn't aware of the DIY scene in Louisville as a teenager. Like I found out about it later and went to a couple shows, but growing up, I'm the oldest child in my family, and I didn't really have any like cousins who lived. All my cousins lived in Ohio, and so I just was alone in that way. Like where I really would just write songs in my bathroom, and because it sounded good in there. The reverb
It does sound good.
was awesome, but I would just be alone, and which sounds maybe sad or something, but it was great. I had a great time. Just listening to Sufjan Stevens and banging it out in the bathroom. So it was
that. So that was like a really big. What was some of your earliest influences?
Yeah, I mean, well, I got to shout out the public radio station in Louisville, WFPK. I discovered a lot of great music listening to that. Fleet Foxes, like I remember the day I heard Fleet Foxes for the first time on that station, and
incredible.
Yeah, and I'm like the Breeders, they would just play all sorts of stuff from many different eras. And there was a record store in town called Ear Ecstasy that anyone from Louisville knows about. It's gone now, but it was like an institution in town. It's now like a Panera Bread or something. It's, deeply post-capitalist, like hellhole nightmare. But that place was extremely formative as far as just buying random stuff with, the money I made working at Subway. And like, they would have in-stores. My Morning Jacket was a massive band for me growing up because they're from Louisville and they're kind of our hometown
They're
heroes.
from there, Jim James. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but lots of different
He's
stuff.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this year we have, Will Oldham. So Bonnie Prince Billy, he's also from there.
Yep.
And
that is one part of like the music scene in Louisville that I was sort of aware of, was like the folk scene. I know Will Oldham is more than that. He's extremely.
Yeah, he's his own thing.
So I hesitate to just use that word to describe his music, but as far as like acoustic music, like he's a legend in town. There are other
Freakwater. I don't remember if you remember Freakwater. That was kind of like it's an alt country, like a legendary alt country band. Like when alt country was kind of a new concept.
Yeah.
Like back early Uncle Tupelo, Freakwater, and they were a couple ladies actually from Louisville and we had them back in 2004 or 5. I don't even know if they're playing much anymore, but super influential. You should check them out.
I absolutely will. That's what I was gonna say. Is like there's a whole like legendary history of Louisville music, especially in the 90s.
It is.
That I just was completely ignorant of, honestly, until I moved to Chicago and people would be like, "Oh, you're from Louisville, that's like Slint." And I'm like, what? Like I truly, I didn't know. And it's fascinating because like I knew about David Pajo through sort of his tangential connection to Bonnie Prince, to Will Oldham, but I didn't realize that he had been in Slint. Like I just didn't know about the sort of like rock and hardcore and whatever you call Slint. I don't know, but I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of cool to like learn about the city in the past tense from a distance.
That's
but
cool.
I don't know. It's kind of funny.
Well, so how what age did you leave Louisville and where did you go?
I was 18. I went to college in northern Indiana in South Bend. And so yeah.
Notre Dame.
Yep. I was brainwashed
Football
from a
school.
young age.
Basketball to football.
Well, our women's basketball team was very good during my time. Yep. Shout out.
Yes.
Muff, Coach Muff. But and the football has not been good in my lifetime, at least not good when it counts. So there's been a lot of
Notre Dame, like
heartbreak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of complicated feelings about Notre Dame in recent years, to be honest. But wouldn't change a thing. That's where I met Dave, who plays guitar in Ratboys. He's, my soulmate musically and in every way. And so, we met like the first weekend, like day 2 of freshman orientation. So
no way.
Right off the bat. Yeah. Yep. Got really lucky.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so, was Ratboys a band immediately? But this, because like when did it? When did Ratboys actually get born?
Well, so it's kind of a complicated answer if you're down, but
I'm down.
Ratboy was my high school nickname, and so I was given that name at the age of 14.
It's got to be a good story. What's the story? Come on.
Story. So my friends and I were just sitting at lunch one day and we were giving each other like disgusting nicknames to pass the time, and that's the one my friend Liz just looked at me and was like, "You're just a little rat boy." And it became kind of a character. It became kind of an inside joke. And so that was my name. By far the least disgusting nickname of the bunch, and the only one that stuck. So when I started writing songs, and when I first got access to like a microphone, like a handheld microphone recorder, when I was 16, I called myself Ratboy as like a name to put my music under or whatever. You know, in iTunes when you have to list your artist's name or whatever. And so, so I was already kind of Ratboy when I met Dave, and I don't remember the conversation, but I assume he was cool with just continuing to use that name when we started jamming. So eventually we added the S, because there was another Ratboy. He was very, very angry that we were that we dared to upload our music for free on Bandcamp. So, yeah, that's the long and winding road.
That's cool. And so, like, what was it like? Did you actually get to play gigs in Chicago or South Bend or?
Kinda. I mean, it was all DIY. We weren't playing like ticketed shows by any means. We were playing, in like student cafes on campus and in our dorms, common spaces, and in backyards and living rooms, and
the place where you cut your teeth. And was this like 2009, 8, 10?
This was 2010. We met in the fall of 2010, and we played our first kind of like what I would think of the first show was in June of 2011, but we were definitely messing around up until then. That first show was the one that we first played like in Dave's hometown, in the suburb,
which is
Oak Forest, Illinois. It's like a suburb south of Chicago. And yeah, we played in our friend Kyle's living room, and that was a big moment for me because I got to meet a lot of Dave's friends. Yeah. We met Sean that day, who plays bass in Ratboys.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Or I met Sean. Dave knew him from high school.
This is like right before you did an EP. Your first EP came out that year, right?
This was right after that. This was like a couple months after we had put that out, and I was just so excited that Dave's friends liked it because they all made cool music, and I was really excited to know that they thought our music was good. So that was like.
Yeah, it was cool. I went back and listened to some of the earliest stuff, just kind of like trying to think about like how it developed over time. Because from that point, I think you've put out how many EPs and how many records? Like, is there 1, 2, 3, 4 records?
Kind of, yeah. There's like, I guess technically 5, but one of them is like kind of like a re-recording compilation. The Happy Birthday Ratboy album. That counts, I guess. Yeah. 5.
Well, like so when you like this is kind of interesting because it's like you going from the journey from having fun in a living room, right, playing for your friends, and to where you like then what would you consider the next big step? Because surviving this is no joke. Like, it's kind of like the ability to like get to where there's any kind of money or sustainability is so hard.
Totally. I mean, I think the reason that we're still doing this and that we've been able to do it as long as we have is that it was never our goal at the beginning to like make a career of music.
Right.
We have always had side jobs and like ways to sustain ourselves when we're not on like playing shows and on tour. And so we never put like a ton of pressure on ourselves. Like if we can't make a living playing music by the end of this year, we're going to stop. Like that hasn't really been our way of thinking. And we're really lucky that we've been able to.
Yeah, it's so healthy.
Just like have gainful employment beyond music and whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, the next big step for us was in 2014, I moved to Chicago after graduation, and then Dave followed in 2015. His program was 5 years. So he did an extra year of school. And then, after we graduated, we started doing a lot of DIY touring. And we were very lucky to have kind of friends who played in other bands who took us under their wing and brought us out with them immediately. Like we got to go to Europe, the year after we started touring, and it was extremely DIY and super fun. And that's,
wow.
it's like that's so rare for a band to get to
like
do
sleeping on people's like living rooms and stuff that along the way? Or?
For like 6 weeks. It was a really long tour. And we played some wild places like truly insane, like, underground bars that were like truly underground, like 3 levels underground. It's just, how do you find this place?
Yeah,
I don't know.
So cool.
But no, it's not lost on me. Like that is such a unique experience for a young band to have. And so we got to do stuff like that. And then the next big kind of like landmark moment for us was in 2017 when we started working with a booking agent, like an established booking agent in America. And that kind of changed everything for us because it made us think, like, if people are trying to invest their time and like, professional energy into what we're doing, maybe we could actually like do this, more. And so
having a real team.
Yeah, that was the beginning. Team.
And isn't that how you met your drummer too?
Yeah, kind of. Well, so we Marcus he's a couple years older than us, and he had been playing in bands, same deal, like DIY bands in Chicago way longer, well, just as long as Dave and Sean, like since high school. And so we had kind of orbited around each other and definitely went to a lot of the same shows early on. And we met on that tour where we first met our booking agent. We were on the road with him and his other band, Pet Symmetry, who are amazing.
Who are amazing.
Yes. And he had filled in for us on drums very valiantly at the last minute on that tour. And so that was kind of the beginning of the Marcus era, which is the best era by far of our band. It's ongoing.
Of Ratboys.
Yes.
Ongoing Ratboys.
But yeah,
it's so cool.
Small world.
Like thinking about Chicago at that time, there's a lot of amazing music coming out of there.
Oh yeah.
Did you intermingle or have connections to any of the, I don't know, with the Chicago music scene that was at that time?
Yeah, I mean, totally. At that time, I was much more keyed into the DIY scene in Chicago, which, was thriving, frankly, like from my perspective. I'm sure it was thriving. And I know it was actually from just hearing stories, but it was thriving long before I arrived in 2014. And up until COVID, it was still really going strong. I'm sure things, again, are happening now. I'm just like completely lost.
It completely is come back. I always think of Chicago. My friend Eric Johnson from the Fruit Bats. He started back in he lived in Chicago forever. I think kind of Fruit Bats really kind of started there.
Yeah. That's so funny you mentioned that because Fruit Bats was a big band for me in high school. They were like one of those bands that I picked up their CD at Ear Ecstasy, never having heard it, but liking the cover, and kind of fell in love. And this was back before I, really had access to the internet in a like constant way like we do now, where I just assumed from their sound that they were from Portland, that they were like from the Pacific Northwest. They just sounded like West Coast to me. I don't know why. And so I only recently found out, literally now, that they're a Chicago band. I did not know that. And so that like blew my mind. There's just always new things to discover here. It's pretty sweet, like endless,
Yeah.
But,
oh yeah. And I think we have a couple bands. There's an amazing blues, still kind of cool, like JD Simo, this amazing blues rock artist who's kind of a throwback to something that I always kind of feel like some of those musics die out till somebody's so good at it and kind of reinvents it a bit.
Totally. That's awesome.
And then the jazz scene, right? Irreversible Entanglements is coming. There's a crazy awesome kind of prog rock. You know the band Deeper?
Of course. Yeah.
You do?
Yes. Yeah. We they're amazing. We actually met them down at South by, and like one year, and found out they were from Chicago, and we were like, oh, like where? And turns out they lived above one of our best friends.
Oh, really?
Small world. Yeah. They're amazing.
I just, like, people don't give Chicago as much due. Like, it just, there's so, it's not just one style too. It's just so much music.
Yeah.
Tortoise.
I was just going to say
Jeff
that.
Parker.
That's the thing. Like, living here, it's really kind of easy and nice to get to know bands when you play shows with them. And then there's also just like the legacy of Chicago music that's so cool to be like in proximity to. Like, Tortoise is a massive one, and like the Sea and Cake is one of my favorite bands, and Sam Prekop is like truly one of my favorite artists.
Wow.
But then of course there's like Wilco and that whole collective of guys, and
I forget, they're considered Chicago?
They are now.
I always forget.
Well,
that.
yeah, like they started in St. Louis, but moved up here. I know that I'm like a huge fan of their band, and so
me too.
The whole lore is that Jeff met his wife here, and they just moved up eventually in the '90s. But at this point, they're very much a Chicago band. Like their studio is here, and they're like a big kind of banner act for the city. So it's exciting to be a part of the same community that they helped build, and yeah, there's a lot to love. I'm stoked. I love it here.
There's also this incredible Latin drummer Daniel Villero is coming, and it's part of it. But it's just there's so many cool styles coming together. It's such jazz, rock, blues, rap, tons of rap, right?
Totally.
That's incredible from there. R&B, I think Jamila Woods.
Yes, absolutely. And like there's a pretty sweet history and tradition of having a lot of mixed genre bills, like not just regular shows, but on like the street fests that happen here every weekend in the summer. Every neighborhood kind of has their own street fest at one point in the summer, and the lineups are usually pretty wild, like pretty diverse. Similar to the Pickathon lineup, honestly, which is really exciting.
Yeah. We like to screw people up in terms of like they think they like a certain type of music, and when you bring kind of the burning hot sun and a different style that they may not think they like, you get to be super confused and sometimes converted.
Love that.
We love to throw a hardcore band next to like a weird old time band, or a electronic band versus some kind of like Cajun band or something. I mean, we just like the just full juxtaposition, because the energy when it's there and that they're bringing the spirit, right? And it's just, a lot of our bands are kind of where you guys are at, in like this isn't a victory lap. This isn't like 20 years. Oh, we're just doing a reunion tour, and we're it's more like you guys are living in the kind of creative like moment of trying to figure out what you guys are doing.
Yeah,
right?
Totally. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way, And that's like, when I look at bands like Wilco, who are still making interesting music, like, 30 plus years into their career, that's the goal,
Totally.
Yeah, when things feel like that's an interesting way to put it, a victory lap. I can't imagine how that would feel. That might feel kind of sad,
I think you're not living in the passion anymore.
Yeah.
There's a point where it kind of turns into a day job. Like, I'm going to go fishing, but I'll play this every once in a while. I don't know. Like I can only imagine. And, that's kind of what a lot of the music market, people want to see victory laps. They love.
Yeah.
And so like there's.
Well, I think that's a big thing right now with REM. Everyone's like begging them to come back and play a show because they did that one little interview which was an amazing interview for CBS. But I loved what I
think they have an amazing. They're in it though. Like I can't imagine them not being into their.
Yeah. Well.
Like it would just.
I just love what Peter Buck said. He's like, it wouldn't be as good, and it's like, yeah, I respect it. But also, if they came back, that'd be awesome, and I would respect that too. Like it's whatever feels good. But I can't imagine just going out to do it and not feel anything,
Yeah, Peter lives here.
Oh, wow.
He's a Portland.
Cool.
He's kind of like, there's a couple legend bands that have just, he sits in and like, has huge fan base here. So
cool. That's awesome.
I'm curious, when you were at Solid Sound, did you see Water from Your Eyes or?
We did. Well, we played with them.
Joanna Sternberg.
We played a one-off like co-headline show with Water from Your Eyes the night before our Solid Sound Day. And actually, we've played with them before. They used to be based in Chicago, and so we played together in like 2016 or something here at the Beat Kitchen. And they're an incredible band. We are big fans.
Yeah, I'm excited. I just can't figure out what it's going to be like live.
I wouldn't try. I don't think their music can really properly be anticipated. You just gotta be there. They're incredible.
They're this one of the late bands we added to is This Is Lorelei.
That's Nate's side project. Yeah, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, Nate, if you go to his Spotify for This Is Lorelei, you might think that this is like the first record he's put out from that project because all the top songs are from the record, which makes sense. It's incredible. Like the new album is phenomenal. It's, and all of his music is phenomenal. Like he has put out, I think, 10 albums under this name, and
really,
yes, he's been doing this for years, and no one's.
And he just got noticed.
Yeah, like to be fair, I don't think he was trying to be noticed. Like he would just, and I love this. He would just finish music and immediately put it on Spotify and not tell anyone. Like that's just the kind of songwriter he is. He's not writing it to get to like play shows or like he just puts it out. All that to be said, yeah, there's so much great music to discover under that name. Like he put out an album in 2020 called Okay Nate, which was like my favorite record of that year. I listened to it constantly.
Holy cow, I'm gonna totally listen to it. It's so different. Yeah. It's so different.
Yep.
But so
it's
good.
Super,
I'm just amazed at the same band.
Yep. And like super like poppy, but off kilter. And every song is different from the other. Like there's lots of variety. And the thing that I love about Okay Nate is that there's like no silence in between the songs. And so when you listen to the album, yeah, it's pretty trippy. Like it just goes right into the next, and it sounds almost like a mixtape or like something you're ripping off the radio or something. It's very cool. It's different. So highly recommend that one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, so when we've got a booking agent, which is, I totally can see that, it's like for us on the festival side, like we a lot of times we're working with bands that don't have booking agents. Like goes way back. Like I remember when we booked Billy Strings, I think we had him twice before he was really on any other festivals ever. And just friends of ours. It's a lot of the stuff we do. It's like these insane music fans regionally who are like, oh, this is the great little regional thing. And like when you have enough like eyes and ears, and you can never do this. Nobody's smart enough to do it by themselves. It has to be this insane open, source kind of idea. Mm-hmm. But it can, that team is so critical, right? Yep. To have like people working for you, because you calling to book a show is not the same as somebody trying to play your best interests.
Totally. Yeah, it's a huge difference. It's just a totally like, I don't know, it's the word like validating isn't even correct. It's just kind of giving more people access to like find your music and like see you play, because it's not that playing a basement show is like inherently worse than playing a ticketed professional music venue. It's in many ways, I'd argue, the opposite. But I don't,
the intimacy, the
right. But I don't see those two things in opposition actually at all. But the thing about ticketed shows is that it allows people to find you maybe easier, because they might be going to a show at that venue already and they see a poster for your show and, oh, maybe I'll go. Or maybe they subscribe to that venue's newsletter. It's just like, it's more infrastructure to get your music out there. And so, whereas if you're just touring in basements and someone finds your music and wants to go see you play, they have to go maybe through a whole sequence of figuring out the address of the house. It's like, and that's cool. That's like punk, but at a certain point, it's like, it is actually a hindrance when people might not be able to find you. And so, it's been, and it helped us grow, it helped us play with other bands and make connections that way. And so, yeah, that was a huge...
Yeah, you went some incredible tours.
Yeah, I know.
Incredible tours.
We're so grateful And we're on tour right now with the Decemberists, and
Yep.
that is
Who
just
are
like,
friends of ours.
yeah, that's like the ultimate.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. And so,
Say hi to Chris Funk for me.
oh, I mean, Chris is the best. Yeah, we've really enjoyed getting to know those folks, and but yeah, they're just like one of those bands that we grew up listening to, and definite like iTunes band for me. Had those freaks on my iPod early, and so.
Do you want a fun fact? Is their last, the number when they had the only Oregon #1 record. You could kind of argue that Louie Louie was too, but this was a full record, and it was recorded on Pendarvis Farm in the Lucky Barn.
Whoa, wait, what is this? Which album? Or is it a song?
No, it's the album. It came out like 2010. So it's the. And
I know what you're talking
My
about.
brain is freezing right now.
Nope, I know what you're talking about. The era is what I wanted to know. Yeah, 2010. Mm-hmm. Got it. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, they're one of those.
So that's like a long history. And
yeah, they're one of those bands that what we were talking about, like not resting on your laurels or taking a victory lap. Like they're making some weird stuff.
Creating.
Yep, and the new record is incredible. So it's pretty sweet.
Colin used to have like a camp, like a kind of a author camp, I think, at the Pendarvis Farm too. Like back in like early when we were just starting around 2006, he was like doing things out there. So yeah, a lot of connections, and it's so cool because you're going to be touring all the way up through the summer with them, right? And right up around the festival.
Yeah.
Because you're the only one you're not opening for is the Edgefield.
The Oregon show, yeah. Well, we'll be in Bend with them, but the Portland show, yeah, we'll be at Pickathon. And actually, that worked out so perfectly because, yeah, and we're getting to do it all. And I'm so grateful because, like, we were already booked with you guys before we got this offer from the Decemberists, and it, like, slotted in so perfectly because we're already going to be out there, or we were already planning to be out there at Pickathon, and the tour ends. It's literally like we're being, like, delivered like a baby into the woods of Pickathon, like it's pretty sweet. So yeah, it's gonna be a good summer.
So I just want to kind of thinking, did you guys add a manager pretty soon after that? When did you guys add a manager?
A while after, actually. Like we took it pretty slow. It's 2017 that we started working with High Road, the booking agents, and then I also should definitely say like Top Shelf Records, who is based in Portland now.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask about that.
Yeah.
So maybe tell me about them after the manager here.
Yeah, well, so I didn't want to gloss over the fact that they were like the very first people to invest time and energy into our music. Like they put out our first record in 2015 and, have put out all of our albums. And so
you stuck with them too the whole time.
They stuck with us too. I mean, yeah, it's funny, like Kevin, who runs Top Shelf, signed us without ever meeting us in person or seeing us play. Like it was a real leap of faith. And so, and like pressing vinyl, just not like a cheap, easy thing to do. So it was pretty insane, actually. Kevin, insane man. But yeah, he totally like welcomed us into the fold in 2015. So can't forget Top Shelf. But yeah, we went 3 years before we started working with the manager. I tried, I was managing our band as best I could. And then in 2019 started cold calling other managers thinking this might be something that could help us, and nothing worked, like people responded, which was nice. Some people didn't, but a lot of people did, saying they didn't have time and whatever. I totally get it. But in 2020, the short gist of the story is that we had been working with 2 booking agents the whole time at High Road, and one of them, who was slightly more junior, got furloughed during the apocalypse when there were no shows. And so, yeah, we didn't want to stop working with him. And so I kind of, on the whim, suggested that he could maybe just be our manager instead. And he had never managed bands, but he had been in bands and worked, obviously, in booking for a long time. And he is just the best. He said yes. He is truly like the reason that we've been able to grow in the way that we have in the last few years. And so, and he's back working full time at High Road and doing double duty, managing us. He doesn't book us anymore, but still, he's booking a million other bands, and he's so busy, and he crushes it for us. So
shout out to High Road, Frank Riley and Cruz.
Yes, shout out to High Road. Shout out to Tom, our manager. He's great.
Shout out to Tom. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Top Shelf is out in Portland now. If anyone in Portland is listening,
I need to go dig in more. Like Top Shelf is like it's something that's off of my radar. I don't know as much about them, but
their whole story is pretty wild. Like they started out kind of as an emo label in 2006, out in Boston, where Kevin is from. They were living in the same apartment, or Kevin was living in the same apartment as I don't know his name, but the guy who runs Run for Cover Records. And they started literally together in the same building, and then Kevin ended up moving out to San Diego with Seth, who co-owns the label, and they were there for a while. That's where we met them. They were there when we started working together, and then just in the last, I think 6 years maybe, he moved up to Portland, I think 2018, and has been there ever since. It's just entered a new era, actually, because he found like a physical space. He had been running the label like out of his house, but they just bought a like commercial space that they're gonna set up to have like a storefront and like a performance, like a venue, I believe, is in the works. So it's happening. Things are happening.
That's so great.
Yeah.
This is the town of record stores.
Let's go.
I don't know if there's any town in America that loves record stores as much as Portland.
That's a good thing.
There's so many.
Nice.
It is a good thing.
Hell yeah.
If you get some time to check it out. You know, it's cool then. So like when you get the ingredients all together, I'm super curious if you think that helped give the band space to really invest in the music, like in the window. Like when I listen to that record, I hear, I can just see, like I said at the beginning of this is a band now that is more than just songwriting, right? Your band is obviously bringing the songs together. I'm guessing that you're writing in ideas and that you must be flushing these out.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, really, I'm trying to think, like with Printer's Devil, which was the album that came out in 2020, we actually recorded it back in 2018. And at that time, we really weren't like a functioning full band in the writing sense. Like Dave and I would write the songs alone and then bring them to Dave, and we would demo them as just us, the two of us. And then we would bring the songs to friends, at this point, Marcus and Sean, who would learn the parts and help us record them maybe a week before or something. Like we would just kind of bash it out before we went into the studio, but without very much consideration to like shaping the songs. We were more just like teaching them parts that we had written, obviously with room for them to make suggestions. We weren't like shutting them down, but it just was definitely more of a it wasn't as much of a like collaboration in that way. And so we had toured a bunch together in between recording Printer's Devil in 2018 at the end of the year, and then in 2019 we toured a lot, playing together, and we became, very close, and they kind of became like our bandmates in that time. And so in 2020 we were like so ready to hit the ground running as a full band, and then like the live performance aspect of that, just Apocalypse, it just went away. And so that part went away, but then we were still, like we wanted to play together. And so that transformed into us playing at home together a lot. And so we had so much time to do that. And, like I mentioned, we had recorded the record Prince Devil like 2 years before. So I had like a bunch of songs like ready to go, at least just to start working on. And so we started working on the next record immediately. And it was really fun. We had a ton of time to get together. We got together like twice a week. We had a beautiful Thursday, Sunday practice routine for like a year and a half, and we don't do that anymore because are on the road.
I know, it's such a luxury.
I know.
It's like a little fantasy.
It's truly like I will never take that for granted, or like just look back and think I'll always appreciate how like special that was, because it's so rare to have like that much dedicated time to work on the songs. So
there's a lot of bands that got a lot better over. There's a band coming this year that are just babies. They're 20.
Wow.
Actually, my son's age, and one of my friends actually knows a mom of one of the kids in the band. They're called Geese from Chicago. From New York.
They're that young?
You might know of them.
We know Geese.
They're just 20.
That is crazy.
Right? And they basically grew up during COVID, right? Learned like just every day. They were neighborhood, friends, right? And that's how that band came together. It was COVID.
Well,
it was pre-COVID too. But
amazing.
They really they're amazing.
I mean, this is the weird like complexity of like looking back on that time now, because obviously I wish that hadn't happened, like it was a devastating event globally, and like many things,
for us too.
Yeah, many things will never be the same in a kind of scary way. And I don't think it's a but, I think it's an and. Like, so much came out of that I'm grateful for. Like, not just in our world, but things like that. Like, Geese is an incredible band. We have been listening to their new record so much.
You wait till you see them live. They're gonna absolutely melt your brain.
I hope we're on the same day. Zale, can you like pull some strings? That'd be.
You're like hanging out. I don't know if you're probably staying in a hotel, but you should also consider, if you like to camp, we have the best camping setup in the universe, and everything is there, including like living rooms, coffee, showers. It's totally like concierge kind of thing.
Okay, this is good to know.
So
we'll make some arrangements.
These are little insider tips.
Nice. I can't wait.
It's cool. So like the window then really kind of came from that time till when you got a chance to record it up in actually with Chris Walla from Death Cab from Cutie, right up in
Seattle,
in Washington, right up in Seattle.
Yep. Yeah, that was we recorded in February of 2022. So we had from March of 2020 until then to work on the album. It's like almost 2 years of prep, really. And like we did other stuff in the meantime, like we put out that Happy Birthday Rat Boy album, and we were in the practice of doing a monthly cover for our Patreon during the pandemic, which was really fun. And I'm still like so stoked, like listening back to some of those covers. That was really a good thing to do, like we don't do that anymore. We don't have time anymore. And so there's things I miss, and like, we were doing internet live stream, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, so yeah, it was just a lot of time.
I started an internet live company. I started a whole internet live stream company.
Really?
It's now gone because, called Frequency.
Cool.
Yeah, but we did. It was super fun.
That's the thing. You find things to do you otherwise never would have tried.
Did you meet Dave Depper, who's part of Death Cab for Cutie?
No.
He's on the touring side.
I've never met any of the other Death Cab guys. Hopefully someday. We're big fans, so. They're kind of
warriors now, like kind of coming into Chris's world, but Dave's an incredible musician from Portland.
Nice.
He just kills it.
Yeah, I mean, their live show is insane, and the tour they were just on is so cool. I think the stars aligned,
What really I love about this record is how you, the window, and I know I'm super curious to see it live, is how you kind of open up the songs and how you decided to like, Black Earth, Wisconsin, there's some songs that only have a couple verses, really. I don't know how many verses that has. Two, right? That's what I thought.
Kind of, yeah. I mean.
But they're epic. You turn these songs into like epic kind of like anthems, which is kind of my favorite sweet spot, in the world of music.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you. I love a long song. That is one of my favorite genres of music, long songs. So it was always a bucket list thing for us to have a long song. And I constitute a long song as 7 minutes or more. I know people might...
I like a technical definition.
Well, people might say 5 or 6 minutes is a long song. Politely, I disagree. I think that is still very reasonable, And nowadays, the Spotify algorithm's feeding me all these 1.5-minute long songs, which is cool too. But like, if you listen to enough of those in a row, it's like, what is happening? Like, it's just all the same. I don't know. So I love getting lost in a long song. And Black Earth that song's kind of just about getting lost and like driving around in the middle of nowhere for no reason. And in my fictional, like conception of it, running into some sort of tornado or strange Midwestern weather in a supernatural sort of way. But yeah, that song, totally. I mean, that's like the perfect example of what we were talking about, kind of, because I was messing around with that idea, just the verses and the chords and stuff for years, and like never really had a plan for it, or even like a sense of urgency to show it to the guys. Like that was just kind of a back pocket like jam for fun. And just like, yeah, having that like amount of time where there was like not only was there not a deadline, there was like no real like sense that things were going to come back ever, and which just seems silly to say now, but that's how it felt. And so
I know
it was like an indefinite period like of suspension for everyone. And so yeah, like just having no pressure to finish it, I think ended up
the purest form of like, you like this.
Yeah. And it was just like endless opportunity. Yeah. We just like jammed on it every time we got together for fun we didn't even show it to Chris for a long time. Because we had this like folder where we would record our practices and upload takes of songs. And finally we just uploaded one of those because we were like, this one was good. And he was like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, why have you not showed this to me? And this was actually pretty late in the process. And so, yeah, that wasn't even on our radar to like record that song. And so that's just how loose things were kind of prepping for the studio. It felt really,
it's cool. It's like having space to kind of like think and develop and not make it like so rushed and formulaic.
It was nice. And to be honest, I don't think we'll ever have that experience again, which isn't to say that like whatever we make next will feel rushed or like high pressure or whatever. It's just going to be different because we are on the road so much. And so, which we love to do. And that's like our favorite thing besides recording and writing. And so we wouldn't have it a different way. It's just different than how it was back then. So I'll be curious to see like how the next album sounds different in that way.
Well, I am curious to see you live, and I know so many folks are looking forward to you. And I really thank you for coming today, and can't wait to when we get to be together in person.
Yes.
It'll be super fun.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, we are also excited for the festival. So thank you for inviting us to play.
Well, we feel honored for having you, and hopefully it's going to be as good a time as I imagine. I know it will be.
Yes.
But it's weird. It's like I described this one feeling that maybe we'll talk about it, where when you have a multi-day festival, and I don't know if you get to stay a couple days, but also know you can be our guest from Thursday to Monday or Wednesday to Monday. As much of that you can be our guest. We have to take care of you, scratch organic kitchen, the whole 9 yards. You get to be in this happy place because all your job is to see like amazing things, experience it with people you like, and that's your job. It's like, just go, I'm going to go see this. And then you just have this feeling where you're like, I'm feeling like I can't describe it. It's just, you're just a little bit disconnected from normal world, right?
Sweet.
So I'm excited for everyone to experience that. I'm excited for you guys. And with that, I'll say, hey, thank you everyone for listening. This is the end of episode 40, the Big 40. Julia, my guest on Ratboys, and they're going to be playing at the 2024 Pickathon Festival in August 1 through 4 on a couple stages and some other secret places. And yeah, you'll probably see us walking around, hopefully. Say hi.
Yes.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Pickathon Podcast. This podcast is produced by Zale Schoenborn, Tanner McCullough, and Evan Throckmorton. Our artwork is by Travis Bone, and additional support by Ryan Stiles. The music you heard in this episode was by our guest of honor, Ratboys. The songs included were Folk Song for Jazz, Key, and the one we're riding out on right now, Morning Zoo.
Be sure to check out our Pickathon Patreon, where we have exclusive interviews, content, and insights into the Pickathon world. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you hear your podcasts. And tell a friend about where they can get on the Pickathon bandwagon. thank you to the whole Pickathon family. And like Zale said, we'll catch you all next week.
To settle down.